Alright, in these next few videos, maybe one video, I don't know how long it's going to take, I'm going to try to do a further disassembly of the Ruger P345. I know that a couple other folks on YouTube have field strips of the P345 or some kind of small reviews. I might do a review of it later, possibly, to put something out there that's better than what is already there on the YouTube. And but first we're just gonna, I am just gonna do a little strip of this so you can see how to get in further and actually clean your P345 a little more thoroughly than just your standardized field strip. So first we're gonna start off with field strip so we can get down just to the frame. So I'm gonna check to make sure that this is unloaded first, of course. I'm gonna drop the magazine. Slide back, gonna look inside there, see that there's nothing. Point that right, you can see it too. There's nothing in there. So first step to the field strip is to depress that little ejector guy inside of there. You can see the silhouette inside the mag well. Press that little guy down, slide the slide forward till you get these two little marks on here aligned. Pull out that and there, standardized field strip. So at this point, we're not even really going to deal with the slide itself. We're just going to be taking apart the frame. So I'm just going to set this off to the side, set the mag off, set all this. To go further, you're going to want to get yourself nice little punch tools. I find that these work better. You can use the appropriate size Allen wrench too. I suppose that works. But again, this is easier and a little bit less wear on your pistol. So I like to start first off by pulling out the trigger, and we're going to be pushing out the pin that is right above there. See it right in my finger. I'm going to push that out, and then the trigger should just basically pop right out. So on the back, remember to push the smaller side and the bigger side. It won't go in the other way. So I figured that out a little while ago. So it just pushes straight out. That gets dropped. This comes out. Set it aside, and I find that you just push this straight up, pull out, and your trigger is now out. Set that off to the side for later. I like to keep the actual pins with the parts so that I don't mistake anything and I don't lose it. So that's what I find helps. Alright, so I'm going to take the mainspring out. So we're going to pop out this little detent here at the bottom. So this is actually under a fair amount of pressure. So it's a little easier if you keep your finger underneath the back of it. So I'm going to push that out right now. And that comes out. And then with that, you're going to get a little metal, I guess it's to keep the wear of the spring off of the fiberglass reinforced plastic. So just keep those two together. The beveled edge points up. That's another little bit right there. So if it comes out, you know which way it goes because there's two different sides to it. From there, we can pull out. Boom. Flies right out. There's your mainspring right there. All right. So let's see here. Now, next we can pull the ejector actually, and this is held in by two little balls. They're like little. I guess you would call them little. I don't know. I'm at a loss for words. I'll think about it later and then write it on the YouTube. But it's a spring that pokes outward and keeps these two little detents pressured in. So you're not actually pushing something all the way through. You're just poking out both sides, and then it'll pop out. So it's actually somewhat tricky to get both of them to want to go at the same time. Gotta kind of fool with it a little bit. So I got one side out right there. Poke the other side. And then that should just want to come right out. Yep. And then here you have a spring attached to the ejector, and then as you can see right here, here are the little detents that are spring actuated and pop out inside. This is a tricky one to get back in, so I recommend looking inside to see where that spring goes before you pull it, so you know exactly where it sits, where it all goes back together. The Ruger is actually really simple if you take your time. Pull it apart, look at it closely, it'll go back to the same way and continue to fire. So after you get that pulled, move on up here. There's these two guys. We're going to be pulling these out next. and then from there we can get access to the hammer and then the actual trigger mechanism back behind it. So I'm going to pop these guys out. There's one, and there's two. This is probably, or these are probably the most difficult to get out, or not out, but get back in. And they fit together kind of like a little puzzle with the spring. It took me a little while and the help from my my roommate to get it all to go back in right. It took like 3 hands. So I can do it now by myself, but it's something that's not exactly fun the first time you do it. From here, we can actually pull out the hammer now and give it a couple whacks, and then we can have access to this little guy right here. Give it a couple whacks, this little guy will pop out, and then from there when you pull this, the hammer will come out. Boom. And then from there you can actually pull out the trigger mechanism, and it just slides straight forward and out, and it's on a spring too, so gotta be careful with that. Oh, the spring stuff. There you go. And now that's out. And basically, other than taking out the mag release button there, this is a completely stripped lower. So it is. There's not much more you can do. Putting it back together, now that's the real fun part. I will stop the video here and try to do a reassembly in a somewhat short amount of time.